sewing machine, first thing is you want to make sure you're using a matching thread. Even though you're bar tacking this, you still want to use a matching thread. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the side down right here, going fairly close to the edge. We're going to sew that down. That's the first step. You're only going to the edge of the bottom of the buckram. Just where the bottom of the buckram is, that's as far as you're going down. And this is what's going to hold your lining in place also at the top, are all these. Making sure you trim off, might as well do that right away. Trim off your extra threads. Unless your machine's equipped with a thread cutter, this is an old machine, it's not. Okay. So in between the pleat, in between these pins are where your pleats are. This is the return because the overlap side has the nice tape going down the leading edge. So we're starting with our first pleat. What we're going to do is put this to pin, like so. You really want to keep your fabric and everything organized. Once you have it and keeping your top even, like so, I'm going to put it underneath your machine. Now, here's the deal. I have a magnet sitting right here. My magnet is set up, and sometimes I may have to do an adjustment, but right now I have to make a tiny adjustment. Okay, now this magnet is following this, where I have to put my bar tack, and it's exactly underneath my pin. That's where I want it. If your machine is plastic and you can't do this, I would recommend taking a ruler and taping a ruler so you have a nice straight edge to follow, because this is where your straight edge is going to be right here. So now I can remove my pins because I have my magnet set up exactly where it's got to go underneath my foot, like that. Stick it under. Do a nice straight stitch. Make sure you back tack to keep that from falling out. Go right to the edge of the buckram, back tack it, and pull it out. And we're only going to do 2 here, so I'm not boring you doing all of them. Clean up our work. Okay, so that's our very first one. Then again, you also notice where these pins are. I readjusted them so the pins that are holding the lining right here, the ones that we put in to begin with, I adjusted them so they're not in the pleat, they're only in the spaces, so it doesn't make it hard to get them back out once I put my pleat in. So get this nice and even at the top. The buckram is nice because it gives you a nice stiff surface to work with. Check it to make sure it's fine underneath your foot, and this is still lined up very well, that magnet. Take it out. I'm going to do one more, and the only reason I'm going to do it because I'm right by the seam, so we can show you the seam here. Okay, now we're right at the seam, right here. That's going to be our guide, kind of our guide. We want to make sure that when we put this in, we're going pin to pin, and we're going to make sure that we're going right along this the seam line, not so much into it, but right along it, because that's where we're hiding that seam behind the pleat. You want to make sure you keep your fabric and everything organized and nothing else is underneath your so you're not like having this flipped underneath here and you're sewing something you're not supposed to be sewing. Again, I'm going to check it and we're good right there. Okay, now the next thing is I'm going to finish these up and then we're going to show you how to put the three-prong pleat in. So now it's time to put the three-prong pleat in. I just did one and it looks like that. I did change my foot to more of a zipper foot because between having a double turn top, room darkening liner on the back of it, and the buckram, it gets quite thick. So I am actually sewing it underneath the buckram. Just underneath the buckram is where I'm putting my tack. So to begin with, let's see if you can see this. I think you can see it. Okay, so we're working with this one. And we have that right in half. And basically what you want to do is take your fingers, spread the material out. Just see if you can see that. So you're making 3 even sections and making it like that. Okay, so let me open it up again. You're grabbing the center of this, you're spreading it out, starting your first finger of your pleat, then turn it, and you're going to get something that looks like this. The trick now is to get that underneath the foot of your sewing machine. And this is what I'm doing. I'm putting it right underneath here. Luckily these machines are very powerful. And making sure I have them as even as I can. Couple of tacks, because you want to make sure you're tacking it down pretty good. You don't want that to fall out. And there's your pleat right there. Now the last thing I did cover with you is the bottom. On the bottom here, you want to make sure you add a weight. Well, you don't have to, but we like to. This is a 1 inch by 1 inch square coated. It's got a plastic coating on there, a vinyl coating I should say, and you slip it inside here. Unfortunately, I already did it, and then you can stick it underneath your machine and give it a little stitch right there to close it up, and then pretty much so you're finished with the bottom. In some cases we hand sew this too on delicate fabrics, on silks and whatever. On this fabric I didn't really feel the need to because it's a pretty solid fabric and I don't think you're going to see that. Anyhow, that's that, and we'll be back. Okay, so we're all done pinch pleating the drapes. We got our we're almost done with this. They're all pleated. Everything measures exactly the way they should. So we got two more steps on this pair of draperies. One is to put the pins in them so we can hang them. And secondly is to fan fold them. A very important part of the draperies. Do not forget to fan fold them, and I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to put this set aside here for now. We're going to talk about the pins. So most of the time what we use is this pin setter, and it has a little guide, and you can stick your pin. There's a little pin right there, and it kind of, you just push them in. It makes it nice and easy. But realizing you're probably not going to be able to do that, we're going to flip this over, and we're going to mark it for the pins. Okay, so the pins are going to go in each one of these right where we had bar tacked it, right where it's stitched right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to mark it. This is for a standard traverse rod. Standard traverse rod, your top of your pin, being right here, is going to be 1.5 inches from the top. So we want to make sure this lands 1.5 inches. So what you're going to do is put a 3-inch, just a little mark on the back of your drapes, 3 inches down. Right where in this seam right here is exactly where you want to put your mark. Just a little mark on the side of it, 3 inches, 3 inches, just like that. It should only take you a couple minutes to do this, depending on how large your drapery is. And that's where your pin is going to enter, right in there. Okay. Now your first pin is about in the halfway of the hem right here, right where this hem is. And of course you don't want it to go all the way through. Just into the buckram. And that should leave you approximately 1.5 inches down from the top. Depending on most of these are pretty standard. They're about 1.5 inches. So you start 1.5 inches down, 3 inches down. By the time you stick it in, it's 1.5 inches. And you want to stick it right in, and you want to make sure it does not go through so you see it. Just grab your pleat. Make sure you're right in the hem and push it in. These are the pins that they use today, not the old-fashioned ones that go inside here. Haven't seen those in a long time. Nobody uses them anymore. And honestly, I don't recommend them. Okay. Now the next step is to fan fold them. You want to make sure the lining and everything's together. And that's one of the reasons why you're fan folding them, is because your lining and your fabric are separate. And now you want to make sure it stays together. So if you have a clamp, it's helpful. What you're going to do is you can grab your first pleat on your leading edge, and you're going to flip it right upside down, like that. Grab a clamp, clamp it to your table. Make sure you're grabbing your lining and flip it. And you want to make sure it looks about right here. And it does, okay? Then your second one, you're going to grab this right in the middle of the pleat. Like I say, 2 people is a bit easier. And you're going to put that pleat right on top of the second one. grabbing both the fabric and the lining. Physically check, make sure your lining is in here. If it's not, that's exactly where you want to be, right in here. You want to make sure that lining's right with it. Go ahead and grab your next one. Put this one on top. It's good to keep it nice and straight at the top. This is going to create that nice crisp look with it going all the way down. Next one. Grabbing that lining with your other hand. Make sure you're grabbing that lining too. It's the whole purpose of fan folding. One pleat stacks on top of the next pleat. Make sure I'm grabbing that lining. Once you get to your seam, you can kind of tell where you're at and how far you have to go over. Lining up your seam. And you're on your last one. Now what we do is we take fabric bands and we band this together. We have these little fabric bands and we take it and we band it all together like so. We might fold it only in half one more time on a drapery, on a curtain rod, and that way it's all set for the customer. We get to the customer's house and we hang it. We're all set. So there you go. There's a complete how to make a drapery, how to fan fold it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave me some comments. Please like and subscribe if you care to. You'll also find this. Definitely go on to my YouTube channel if you're looking for anything about draperies, pinch pleated draperies, drapery stack back, different type of hardware. Most likely you'll find the answer on my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Take care now. I hope you enjoyed the content of my videos, and I'm hoping that you're going to like and subscribe to my channel. It would be muchly appreciated. Also, I put a lot of time and effort into putting this together, and I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't mind donating a small portion of money to keep this channel going. It's of course not necessary, but it's always appreciative. And also with that, if you have any questions regarding maybe some drapery stack back or swags, whatever your question is, I would be happy to help you out with that. And to do that, all you need to do is just search for Scott Weaver or Scott Weaver videos, and you can click on it, and there's the subscribe button, of course. And then you click onto my face here, and over here you'll see a donate to PayPal. You hit that, and it'll bring you to the link, and it is safe and secure. There it is right there. You can donate with either a credit card, any credit card or debit card, or by PayPal. Of course, this is not necessary, and I'm going to keep giving you the best videos that I possibly can with the limited resources I have. But anyhow, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.